CRUMP. I'm the Managing Director of Wired's consulting business, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to be hosting what I think is going to be a really interesting and necessary panel around gender-intelligent fintechs. Now, I think it's been apparent from all of the sessions that I've seen so far today why this is such an important conversation to be having. Why should fintechs be taking more gender-intelligent approaches? And what are the benefits? And there are many. And actually, those benefits really come back to the opportunity that digital finance can play in empowering women. And fintechs, in particular, have exceptional capabilities to respond to women's distinct needs through low-cost, time-efficient, much-valued services. However, whilst the opportunity for women is clearly significant, we clearly have a problem here. And the problem is that fintechs are much better at engaging men than women. In fact, there is a 27% difference, gender gap, between men and women's access to fintechs. So whilst the opportunity is there, it is not being accessed equally. Now, we've already heard about the power of research. It was brilliant to hear about the previous organisations digging into the data to help them understand the problems. And the Alliance's own research has really shone a light on where these problems are. And what's interesting is that the problems are at every single stage of the sales funnel. So right from awareness, women having lower awareness, to lower likelihood to consider, lower conversion, and actually lower approval rates as well for women, which again is something that we've already heard about. And the research has also shown multiple reasons for this. So actually understanding this is part of the problem, is part of the solution, sorry. Women often have lower trust in digital services. They often have lower digital literacy as well. And actually, they are put off by cumbersome registration processes when they are really tight on time. So, with fewer women engaging at every stage of that sales funnel, there is clearly a problem that fintechs need to address through more gender-intelligent solutions. Now, this wouldn't just benefit women. It would obviously benefit the economy, and it would benefit the fintechs themselves. There are so many compelling stats in the Alliance's research around this, and I just want to share a few of those because they're pretty amazing. So improving awareness amongst women could increase a fintech's revenue by 12%. Converting women at the same rate as men could increase a fintech's revenue by 70%. And removing bias in the credit algorithm would see lending fintechs increase gross margins by 20%. Now, that's just 3 that I've pulled from the report. There are so many. It's really, really worth a read. But the good news is that there are many solutions that can be implemented to tackle these problems. And actually, the fintechs that are adopting gender-intelligent sales funnels are really realizing the benefits. So, to that end, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by 4 fintechs who have done just that. 3 of our panelists are previous Alliance Hackathon winners, and all 4 have designed their sales funnels and/or their customer value propositions to be successful with women's markets specifically. Let me introduce them. TOSIN, ENIOLORUNDA, is the founder and CEO of Moniepoint, a digital payment and banking platform and one of the fastest growing companies in Africa, with over 5 million users across its business and personal banking products. PRITI GUPTA is the founder of LXME, which is a wealth tech focused on mass market Indian women who otherwise do not have access to or use of investment products. And to date, LXME has reached and supported 500,000 women to invest. HARVEY is the founder of Tyme Fintech. Tyme offers banks a white label solution to provide MSMEs with critical non-financial services that support businesses to grow. And Rachel Freeman is the Chief Growth Officer at Tyme, a neobank in South Africa that reached the extraordinary milestone of turning a profit in December 2023 after just 5 years of operation. Tyme reaches 10.8 million customers globally with a low-cost, easily accessible service through kiosks in grocery stores. Welcome. Right, let's dive in. So, as I mentioned earlier, significant opportunity for fintechs to better engage women, and yet we are seeing that women are not engaging as much as men. You four have all found some solutions that have started to tackle that problem. So, Rachel, perhaps we could start with you. My understanding is that over 54% of Tyme's customers in South Africa are women. And for some of your products, I think your buy now, pay later is over 70% female customers. So can you share with the audience, like, what are some of the success factors that you are implementing that explain why you are doing so well with women's markets?
All right, well, thank you, and thank you to the Alliance. We have a strategic partnership of over 4 years with the Financial Alliance for Women. They've done a lot of research on us, and they are our prime kind of research area and the institution that we rely on to think about women. So when we think about our customers, we think, first of all, that they have to learn how to trust. You raised trust as an issue, and that is the first piece when we look through the lens of how do you build trust. The second piece is reliability. So we invested early on in those two areas. We onboard through our digital kiosks in grocery stores where it takes about 3 minutes to open a bank account. You get a Visa debit card with your name on it, and then you can go to the cash register and put money in immediately. But our kiosks only worked because we actually have ambassadors next to the kiosk, and the ambassadors explain how to use the account. We believe that you can only walk from where you stand, and so we meet our customers where they are and walk with them on that journey. And that aspect of the ambassador compared with the kiosk has really enabled women to feel comfortable about onboarding with us. But if we weren't reliable and our tech stack were not so reliable, it would not work. We start planning in February for Black Friday in November. We have not gone down in South Africa in over 1.5 years for any minute. And that is also why we've become so successful for women, because they trust that we're always going to be there and they're always going to be able to use the account. And then we actually only start lending after we really have built a relationship with our customers. Since we have 54% women in South Africa, 57% women in the Philippines, it's just a natural that the lending would move from there on the consumer side to the women.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you very much. And Priti, perhaps we could come to you next. I mentioned earlier that LXME has reached and supported 500,000 women to invest. So given the challenges in engaging women, how have you generated interest in money and savings and investments for women? And more than that, how have you actually got them to engage?
Thank you for that question. Pleasure to be here. I think when I started building LXME, it was very clear that women are profitable customers. I think the problem statement was that how do you get them to the top of the funnel? And one of the deepest realization was that being a woman, I realized that everybody around me, all the women around me, whether it was parenting, whether it was health, whether it was fitness, all of those discussions were happening in communities. I know that if a doctor told me that, your child is suffering from so-and-so and I recommend this medicine, I would still go back to my mother and my sister and my friends and say, hey, what did you do? And I think that was the same behavior, at least we hoped it would be the same behavior that women would follow with money. And I think the biggest problem statement was that women had no platform, no safe space where they could actually come, talk money, discuss money challenges, opportunities. And we said, let's try a community. And we started with a community on Facebook, and we realized that just by word of mouth, it was a closed community, it grew very quickly. So I think the sort of deep insight that community for us is the way to go. We built that on our application first. And community then came with a host of benefits. So one, if I went out as a financial advisor, mind you, I've been a financial advisor for almost 2 decades before I started LXME. And I think that experience taught me that if I go to a woman as a financial advisor, she may not take me as seriously. But if I went to her as a friend and I said, hey, this is what I did with my money, should probably understand and adopt better. So I think one of the benefits of community was community has a huge network effect, which is what we've seen. I think the challenge was to build in the first cohort, a large cohort of the believers and the adopters. And I have to say that was still uphill to get them onto the app and to start doing their first transactions. But once we had that, we saw the network effect of women referring women. I think that was one of the key sort of growth levers for us. So today on LXME, we have 40% of our users come in through referrals through the community or the app. The second was, of course, I remember when I actually started building LXME, I was referred to platforms like LOS in the US. And when I spoke to them, they said, don't undermine the power of brand building PR because women will need to build trust in you. And when I say brand building, I think we went out, we were bootstrapped, so we had no money to spend on advertising. So we actually went out to create thought leadership. We were there every place that a woman was there where the problem statement was money. So we actually spend a lot of time as founders, me and my co-founder, we spend a lot of time out there, sort of building LXME as the platform that women know of and can trust. And the third, of course, was deep analysis of the women who had already adopted the platform and understanding what their persona is, where do they come from, and then optimizing on all of our performance campaigns. My question on an earlier panel was the use of AI or Gen AI to then pick up this data and hyper-personalize messaging. And the fourth most important piece when it comes to women is women like a very high-touch service. They like the fact that there is a person on the other end. The question was, how do you scale this up? And I think which is what we are doing right now is scaling it up to say that when every woman reaches out to LXME, she knows that she has somebody who knows where she's coming from, what her fears are, what her challenges or obstacles are. And we are able to sort of give her that absolutely personalized journey for her financial needs. So these are, of course, the few of the things that have helped us grow to this stage.
Thank you. And actually already tackling that issue of women being less likely to trust digital financial services, whether that's building trust through reliability, building trust through community, but obviously understanding the local needs. Mo, I've seen you sort of nodding in agreement as that's been happening. So Tribe offers white label solutions to provide MSMEs with critical non-financial services to support their growth. How have you set out to target women-led businesses differently? And was that part of your sort of overall strategy?
Yeah, I mean, so the first thing was actually Tribe was originally conceived as a platform for underserved women SMEs. But it actually became so much bigger than that. But at its core, conceptually, I mean, it is a community platform. It's using that white label solution, which we work with banks or telcos or large organizations with a large SME base that they want to offer value-add services to. And we've heard earlier on today about the power of non-financial services and the impact on the SMEs becoming better, more profitable customers. But at its core, we believe that actually the banks continuing to build and focus on their core products, which are the financial products, and not having to worry about sort of what's seen as the nice to have or the value add, and outsource that, and rather than having to build platforms themselves, they can white label something that is fit for purpose, that is fit for their market. And that's kind of where we started. But actually at its core, the community piece is really mission critical for us, because not every day does an SME owner wake up and say, I really want an accounting platform today, or I'm going to start selling online today. There is a learning journey there, and there's a trusting and a relationship building journey there as well. And that's the power of the community. So it's really helping an SME start or grow their business first, and then banking them later. And so with our solution, the community is there at its center, but then we layer in these sort of embedded digital business tools and these other offerings. But very much like LXME, it's hyper-personalized recommendations because we're using the data to understand that SME, understand where they're coming from and what they might need next. So for us, it's probably less about specifically for women SMEs at this point. It's very much an SME platform. But we took gender intelligent design from day one of Tribe. We looked for female CTOs, CPOs, had UX designers. Everything was informed by our team. It starts with your team first. And so there's lots of different Easter eggs in how we've built it, and we've taken all the learnings from the Financial Alliance for Women, which was just a major source of inspiration for me to even start Tribe and quit my job and to go out and sit on stage now as a founder is a different story altogether. But we built using all of that incredible world-class research that's already out there in terms of what these platforms need to be in order to better serve women SMEs as well. We've just used our resources and our agility to build that for the banks and for the telcos as well. But it starts with your team, and then you focus on your customers and what they need.
That's amazing. Thank you, Mo. So three quite different businesses, but actually some real commonality there already. Right, Tosin, slightly different question for you. So Moniepoint has been helping women-owned businesses in Nigeria to grow, and you've given 54 million in working capital loans in the past year. Now, again, love this, looking at data, doing the research. Your data has shown that the non-performing loan ratio for women-owned businesses was 87.5% lower than for men, 87.5% lower than for men. So what would you say makes women-owned businesses an attractive segment for credit? And actually, how have you got around some of those challenges and biases around funding women-owned businesses?
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine. So Moniepoint, we do payments acceptance in Nigeria. Basically, we are like a business bank for small businesses. And the main product, one of the major products we're known for is payment acceptance. That's point of sale. In the UK, that would be like SumUp, if you know SumUp in the UK. And you could say well over 50% of Nigeria's payments through payments is processed through Moniepoint. So you could say we're quite, hyper relevant to businesses, especially small businesses in the country. And Nigeria is also quite an important country in Africa, and in the world, probably the largest black country in the world, and also the largest country in Africa. So what we do to the human race as well as to women is actually quite hyper important. And one of the things that we noticed specifically for women, especially in our working capital loan product, because we do payment acceptance, but we also lend to businesses working capital, and we look at your payment flows. So typical algorithms will take a look at all your demographics, all your data, but what we did specifically is to use only your data, so we had no bias in selection. And pre-selection is done at using our AI in the office before we now actually get to the field. And this allowed us to not have any sort of selection bias. I hope I'm audible. Okay, so this allowed us to not have any form of selection bias in selecting who we lend to. And because we also lend on the basis of flows, our bias are generally towards high turnover businesses. So that's retail, beauty, and we now realize that these are some of the businesses that are also, quite dominated by women, especially when you look at restaurants, when you look at business, retail, and also this, because we also did not have any sort of bias in our algorithm, this allowed us to be able to now double down on our businesses. Even generally, we have 7.2 more women-led businesses than men, which is also not typical because Nigeria, being African, has this bias against women in businesses, especially when you go to the north. So But the fact that our solution is something that caters to small businesses, which are quite dominated by women, allowed us to have this special selection for women also. And so for our working capital loan, like I was saying, because of the segments that were dominated to, and the fact that our algorithm in the back end does not even take a look at gender, it simply looked at the performance of your business, and we only evaluate it on that basis. This allowed this, which is not typical, because if you look at, especially in the North, you will see generally for the global businesses, you will have maybe around 40, 60 being men, 40 being women. But the fact that we only took a look at the businesses, and the selection for us are small businesses that are mostly dominated by women, allowed us to be able to have, that cohort and that ratio dominated towards more women.
Thank you. Do you know what? As someone who lives in the world of AI at Wired, I have so many questions about that, but I'm not going to dive in. I'll let you come back to those later. Right, I'd like to come on to the next round of questions where we dig in a little bit more to some of those solutions that you've developed. And Rachel, if we could come back to you again, I'd love to hear more about Tyme's merchant advance proposition, and in particularly how it's helping the underserved SME segment. So how is it, or is it helping to bridge the financial inclusion gap for women, micro and very small entrepreneurs?
All right, and actually the product is very similar to what Moniepoint is doing, so I feel like we should work together to bring this into Nigeria. So Merchant Cash Advance is a fairly new product for Tyme. We actually did not create it ourselves. We acquired 100% of a company called Retail Capital about a year and a half ago. When we bought the company, 20% of the loans were to women-owned businesses. Now 44% are. We've since launched that product into the Philippines. In the Philippines, after 6 months of having Merchant Cash Advance out, 62% of the loans are going to women. We've launched into Vietnam, very few loans. However, Vietnam is a country in which there are so many women founders, women CEOs, women-owned businesses that we picked the country actually because it's such a women-led economy that we knew we would be successful at every product there in Vietnam. And we're launching in Indonesia in the fall. So the product is actually quite simple. We work through payment processors or point of sale entities or any e-commerce, any company that has digital transactions. We say to those companies that actually work with the merchants, we'll give you 1/3 of the profit if we can then, you can be our distributor. We get all of the data on the merchants, anonymized data, we analyze it, and then we make offers directly through the distributor to the businesses. So first, we actually don't know if they're women-owned or male-owned businesses when we analyze them, but we're in the same industries: health, food and beverage, beauty. We have a massive business with doctors' offices, veterinarians, dentists. So these are actually business areas in which there are more women. So we know that we're going to be driving this towards women just from the segment areas that we go to. And then what we do is we make the offers. We don't take any inside offers. We make the offers to the businesses, and with a dial, and it says, we will lend you, let's say, up to $2,000, and you need to pay us this fee within this amount of time. And then we allow the business owner to pick the time and the amount that they want in that dial. So they can scroll it and then see how much they want to take. So we give a lot of agency to the business. And then the way that we collect is we take a tiny percentage of sale every single day. So if you have a really bad day, we're actually not taking that much. And if you have a really good day, we take more. But we design this so it's perfectly matched to the cash flow of the business. There is no collateral. It's a completely unsecured fee-based product. It is Sharia compliant, so it makes it easy for us to go into Indonesia. And this product, actually, it's amazing because it's so simple, but it's so powerful for women-owned businesses because it takes out the fear of different aspects of borrowing by making it, you decide how much you want, you decide the timing of the product, and then it has a very easy way to make the repayment. So we're actually working closely with the business on working through how they want to repay that loan. So this product, we cannot believe that actually there's not more competition. There's 0 competitors doing this in Indonesia. and 0 in Vietnam, and we're slowly taking the market in the Philippines. So we're very optimistic about this product. So now what we're going to do is build our name with that product going into new countries, and then bring the full banking product in. So women-owned businesses will actually have the loans, and then we bring in the savings and the deposits and the whole retail part of the bank following this in all of our new countries.
Bravo. Thank you so much.
And we'll love to come to Nigeria and work with you.
We've got a partnership going on already. It's so amazing to hear about the growth potential and actually how you're just moving from market to market and unlocking that. PRITI, so actually back on the growth conversation, we spoke about you getting to 500,000 customers, actually from 200,000 to 500,000 over 2 years. So can you talk to us about how are you planning to continue that growth? Like what comes next and how are you going to achieve that?
So we're actually very close to reaching our 1 million mark shortly. So I think even when we spoke and now, I think that's really accelerated. So I think the first milestone for us is obviously the first 1 million users on the platform. But there's been a lot of learning in this 3-year journey. And like I said, it was the first mass cohort, which was probably the most uphill. But also we sort of wanted to take those learnings to then really scale up. So I think one of the, and again, I think I'm a big believer in the community aspect, because community has been telling us what they want from Lakshmi now that they know the platform, that they trust the platform. So I think we realize that women suffer from time poverty. There's so much that you do. We manage home, we manage children, we manage work. And that is why money takes, it comes at the bottom of the ladder, right? We sort of leave it to our partners or husbands or father. And I think we realized that if we create one platform where she can do all things money, whether it is saving, investing, payments, borrowing, it's such a win-win situation. Because one, she trusts this platform. It saves her time. And for us as a platform, we know her better. We know her habits better. For example, if you were to lend to a woman, and I was just saying this earlier, most credit scoring or credit analysis companies will pick up the ability to pay. But on Lakshmi, we can now pick up the intent to pay. Say somebody who's been doing systematic investments for the last 2.5 years, even if it is just $1.50 a month, says a lot about that woman. And how do you build all of this, her interaction on the community, her financial goals, and build it as her intent to sort of pay. So I think creating we started as an investment platform. Today we have investment, we have lending, we are shortly launching payments. So we will be an integrated money platform for any woman in India. The second piece we are doing really to grow is very cohort-based understanding and learning based on the learnings that we have, cohort-based offerings. India, for example, I think a lot of people ask us, and when I'm sitting here and when I hear Rachel and I'm like, oh, she's going to Indonesia, she's going here. India is today for us just the mass middle income market today is 100 million women, right? And if we can just reach out to these 100 million women and help them manage their money by doing this cohort-based offering, I think it'll be a game changer, not just for Lakshmi, but for the country as a whole. So that's the other bit. So I think broadening our product offering as well as creating more hyper-personalized cohort offerings to us is the way forward. I think we should shortly be in a month about 1 million users. And I think next year, hopefully, when Inez invites me, we'll be a few more million women onto the platform.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Amazing. That's why I love round of applause.
Thank you.
This is why I love meeting entrepreneurs. I was just going to play back what you said. If we can just reach out to 100 million women, that's actually amazing. Mo, if we could just come to you. You mentioned earlier, banks focusing on what the banks are good at. So, if they partner with you, what can they expect? Like, how does that impact their bottom line? What are the benefits of that?
Yes, there's just such value and power in partnerships. And Tribe, we always saw ourselves as a partner ecosystem orchestration platform, knowing that banks or telcos already had their own ecosystems of partners in their own in their own countries and for their own customers, but actually managing them, seeing the true value, understanding and extracting data from those partnerships, accountability, just tracking anything that impacted that customer and that bottom line was actually very difficult to do. And having conversations with people in the room today, it seems like that's still a problem for the partnerships teams, as well as just tracking that impact of those partnerships on their own KPIs as well. So, you know, what we've actually built is a really beautiful experience, a really simple user experience for the SME that she knows how to use the app instinctively. There's no need for a how-to guide, although it's there as well. It's super intuitive. There's a community platform where there's trust built. You can verify your business profile, and that builds trust again. There's content, user-generated content as well from a number of our different partners and education partners. And then there's the business tool recommendations to help that SME digitize their business. But what we actually do with our bank partners and with our partners is we orchestrate that ecosystem and co-create it with them. So it's not us saying, here's all of our partnerships, you must take them. We say, great, look, if you have partnerships with business tools or with education providers, that's fantastic. Plug them in, co-create your ecosystem here. But if you're only at the beginning of your non-financial services journey, you can start with Tribe because we already have cooked a number of global partnerships with accounting or e-commerce or inventory or invoicing or education. And so there's a baseline for you to start with and then grow and customize and cultivate as well. But the real power of what we do is in the data. And so actually from some of the mentoring sessions that we had with some of the mentors in the Financial Alliance for Women, we realized that sort of SME user app, the customer-facing app was not enough. And so we ended up building what we now call the Impact Dashboard. It was originally the Bank Impact Dashboard, but it's now the Impact Dashboard. And what that actually is this absolute overview of all the behavior within the app. Insights, data on a sex disaggregated basis as well at the touch of a button, where any of our partners can see what are the trending topics, what are the groups that are trending at the moment, what are the courses that are popular, what are the tools that are really piquing people's interests, etc. And actually the understanding of what your SMEs are actually looking for and building that trust and actually building for them as well, cooking that into the community. The data and the insights that are directly fed back to those banks and also provided in that insights platform is now pretty much unparalleled. And there's real value in that. We're not trying to say you must do this, that, or the other to our partners, but our partners are certainly taking all of that data and insights and saying, okay, maybe this is what we should be doing next, or this is what this industry or sector is looking for in particular. We just want to work and partner with the most digitally forward banks and partners out there. But we believe in the power of the community ultimately. But without data, you can't really measure the value and the impact of your partnerships. And that's sort of the problem that we try to solve as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Mo. TOSIN, if I could come back to you, one of the things I mentioned at the beginning is that one of the barriers to women engaging with fintechs is sometimes lower levels of digital literacy. So how have you made your services sort of inclusive and accessible to women entrepreneurs who perhaps have slightly lower levels of digital literacy?
Interesting. So I think PRITI mentioned something and said that women love high touch. And one of our primary method of distribution is high touch, essentially through field agents that educate businesses and customers and also give them like everything that they need to know about the product, onboard them, and then subsequently service them and serve as the first level customer support. And we have thousands and thousands of these guys who are like our relationship managers. So these guys are able to actually convince otherwise underserved businesses or people. And I would say like basically, this is one of the ways in which we have been able to break into the people that, there are people in Nigeria that are naturally even like intimidated to go into bank branches. Like they see go into bank branches and they are seeing the bright lights, the stage, and like they don't want to really go. But when they talk to people that are locals like them, who speak like them, who look like them, they're actually much more open, and this allows them to actually drive financial inclusion. And I will give kudos to the central bank, the previous central bank administration that we had, that actually opened up this opportunity to many of the fintechs and actually drove this agenda. Because from there has now been a transformation in the way financial services are now being distributed that has actually now included women. So I would say primarily it is the fact that it's a high-touch distribution network first that allows people, that women especially, that will otherwise be excluded. For example, I keep mentioning in the North. In the North, like the religion is not as permissive for women to actually go out and express themselves. But when you actually have another woman, because also in our network, it's also a good balance, and who is selling financial solutions, so it's quite encouraging. And this allowed us to distribute different sorts of services to women. Like I said, the primary service we do is payment acceptance through point of sales. But after that, we also now have it's a full banking application, just like Tyme, where you could actually like set up yourself, get a bank account, both personal and businesses. You can also get a debit card to actually make or receive payments, as a business. You also get access to credit, like I mentioned, credit. You also get access to business tools like inventory management, inventory financing that you need. So I think, secondly, also, I think primarily it's basically, the distribution network. It's allowed us to be able to reach people that prior to now.
It's amazing.
Hard to reach.
You've also picked up on sort of the people like me and building trust from community, right? I'm conscious of time. We're going to go quick fire for the next question. So I mentioned in my introductions that 3 of my panelists are past Alliance Hackathon winners. So quick fire, if you could. Could you just tell the room what has the impact of the hackathon been on your organisation, and would you recommend it? And Rachel, we could maybe start with you.
All right, so we were the first winner of the hackathon. It was the first international recognition that Tyme ever had. And it laid the groundwork for a partnership that led to the impact study that the Financial Alliance for Women did, which led to a number of different impact funders coming to the table with us. BII, Norskin 22, Blue Earth, Swedfund now, and they all refer to actually our partnership with the Financial Alliance for Women, which in some ways started with the hackathon.
Amazing. Well done.
So do the hackathon, particularly because it's sponsored so generously by Moniepoint this year. It's really great to do the hackathon. It's very important, and it means that you're getting a lot of feedback. You have mentors that are talking to you about how to help your business. One of the mentors that we involved with this whole process was Pauline Ray, who is here at this event, speaking tomorrow.
Amazing. That is a resounding yes. Mo, on to you again. If we could go reasonably quick fire, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so we won it when we weren't even a year old. So, I mean, it was a shock. It definitely helped us with our product development, though. So we were still building. I mean, you never finish building. So it really helped us build, and it actually helped sharpen our focus on what was important to banks, which was ultimately about product distribution. So it's all very well and good, like our mission of building that community, but without that product distribution lens, and then that bank impact dashboard and the data that was collected from that, all of that product development was actually informed from conversations, like sparked from conversations of Financial Alliance for Women. I mean, we were super early days. It was like a test run for us to see what it was like to take part in a hackathon, but it absolutely helped us raise a pre-seed round as well, which was incredibly valuable. And for us as well, it's just, as a founder, that validation of actually what you're doing here does have scale. Keep going. Don't park it. It was a really nice sort of moment of a point of validation for us when we're going through a bit of a tough time of, God, I have to raise money and now this is going to become so much bigger than me. So it was really helpful at a really crucial time. And the conversations are still going. So look, I'm hardly going to sit here and say, no, don't apply. Absolutely apply to it if you're an early stage startup. And also if you have questions about it, come to us, because it's all about paying it forward as well. We're still super early stage, but we'll always bring people with us, of course.
That's amazing. Thank you. PRITI?
I think when we won the Alliance Hackathon, I can tell you as a woman building a new category for women, I think I was full of doubts. I was asking myself every day, will this work? Will this work? Is this okay? Is the idea all right? And I think we were also very early stage when we applied for it. I mean, we're still early stage. But I think it was a huge validation for us. It wasn't just only the first international, but the only first award we won. So I think it was with great pride. And there were a lot of, I can tell you there were a lot of naysayers when we started building just for this category. I think I touted this as this, I told you, this works, it'll work, right? So I think that was the first important bit. I think the mentoring along the way was very, very valuable because I think we met the earlier hackathon winners, as well as, there was an entire panel of mentors. We went through the whole, sort of the routine leading up to the hackathon. So it was very, very valuable. And I think today, sitting here in front of a room full of women, I think that's when I feel it even more, that this is so powerful. So Financial Alliance, thank you for all that you do, and really grateful to have won it. And I would tell every woman founder, especially if you're building for women, I think this is the place to come to, because there's so many resources, so much of learning that's already built in that you can take use of.
Thank you. That was 3 resounding yeses, I think. Thank you very much. I'm very conscious of time, and I do want to open up for questions from the audience. If you could raise your hands, hander, if you have a question. Please do. Oh, we've got one here at the front. If we could have a microphone and maybe just tell the room who you are, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Aisha Ahmad. I'm in finance. This morning we had a conversation about women in leadership. And I think from the research we saw that in fintech companies, diversity in leadership is sort of almost nothing. So I wanted to know if you thought, because you are very innovative companies, is it that the technology is intelligent enough to know what women need, or is the technology blind, gender blind, so you don't really need female leaders? I just want to know if you think it's something that's important to your strategy, that it's important to serving women's markets.
Okay, who would like to pick that up, PRITI?
I think my learning has been technology can be put to great use, but I think, can you bring in the human aspect into technology? And I think that has been very powerful when servicing the women's market. And it can be powerful for any cohort, right? Whether it's the teenagers, or it is the SMEs, or is it, but more so for women. Because I think what I've understood is that the behavior of women towards money is very different than it is for men. And if you can bring in your human approach and the human aspect into everything that you're building. I think Mo mentioned before, having just, for example, for us also, our product, the chief product officer is a woman. It doesn't matter who's building the technology. We have men and women both building the technology. But can you actually build for that behavior? I think it needs that lens of women to sort of take it forward. So to me, I think technology is it's a very powerful tool. For example, even the high touch piece that we spoke about, can we use technology to make it scalable? But the underlying aspect of how do you build that, what is the technology going to do, what need is it going to meet, is something that's very human. And I feel this increasingly, and I'm very deeply trying to understand, like I said, how AI can help us scale up. But my insight and learning so far has been that no matter what AI will replace, but it'll never replace the human aspect, understanding human behavior. So I think that's been my learning, at least.
I can see everybody nodding. Rachel, I know you were going to answer at the beginning. Anything you would add to that?
Well, first, I mean, we just in our onboarding pair ambassadors with the technology. So if you just had our kiosks without the ambassador, we would not onboard so many customers. So you have the ambassador makes a big difference, because what we believe is that digital should be the back, like automate where people are not, should not be. That's why everything in the back end is fully digital. But we believe that you should have people with people, because actually people like to learn from other people. We heard high touch. People like to interact with other people to learn. And so you can have the best technology, but you're not going to fully make it, we don't believe, until you pair it with people so that there can be that interaction. So our model, we actually don't say that we're a digital bank. We say we're a human bank, and it's a phygital model with the physical plus the digital, that you have to have people involved.
Brilliant, thank you. We had a question over here.
Hi, my name is Korede. I'm from EcoBank, in charge of retail banking. So I have a question for Mrs. PRITI, or 3 questions actually. First of all, we've been working on the women-led program on retail banking and entrepreneur, and as you say, they're struggling with everything, and they are not taking care of financial planification when they are financially literate. So do you have in your offer something about budget management or financial planification? Then you say it has to be hyper-personalized. How do you manage the hyper-personalization in a market of 100 million women? Are you using AI or any other tech? Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you.
Great question. So I think what I've realized that as women inherently, we've been brought up to say that you are great at money if you're able to save well. And this is a deep insight, and we realized, which is why we are also doing payments, because one, I think in India, women have taken to digital payments very, very effectively. They've adopted digital payments far more. I mean, if we ask women in India, what's the one financial app you have, they will have a payments app. Because that's become very, very easy to do digitally. And I think for us, linking that payments into budgeting is very important. So we have definitely, we're just, in fact, going to roll out a budgeting tool as well, where they understand this is what I've spent. And it's a very simplified tool for them to know, how much I've spent, where I can save, and with nudges on saying, this is where you can save, and this saving can go into into your investment. And we sort of clearly give them a roadmap of, if this is where, if you saved this much, if you kept it at home, if you kept it in a bank versus if you invested it somewhere, what's it going to be worth? So I think once again, highlighting that if you can do the end-to-end journey for a woman on one platform, I think it's very effective. So definitely that's happening. On the hyper-personalization piece, I think we're right from when she comes onto the app, picking up data points on what are the questions she's asking. We have calculators on the app that help her understand how much money will it take her to reach a financial goal when she uses those calculators. So we're actually collecting those data points where then we are able to say, hey, you want to plan for your child's education who's 8 years old, and you know that your child will want to go for an higher education, and typically that's the time where most of middle India takes borrows money for higher education. So we sort of will nudge her to say, why don't you start planning for it today? Why don't you invest your money so that when your child is 18 years old, you already have a corpus which is collected, and if at all you need to borrow beyond that, you still have that as a collateral, so you can borrow better. So these are it's essentially picking up everything that she's doing onto the app and then creating that journey for her. We actually also do a very simple financial security score, because what we realized was while money or growing money or creating their financial security may not be the first thought in minds of women, it definitely keeps them awake at night. And second, if you actually can gamify it and make it into a score, we love doing all these quizzes where we're given scores. And if you can create that into a score where she actually learns along the way and then give her recommendations, it not only makes you understand her goals better, her behavior better, but also takes her through that journey of saying, okay, you've got, your score is 60, now let's take it to 100. and then personalize that as well. And we're in the process. I'm not saying that we've got there 100%, but I think we know the way ahead.
Thank you, Priti. I'm so sorry, I'm so conscious of time. This is our last session of the day, so please do come and talk to the panelists after, do come and ask them some questions. I just want to close with a couple of thoughts really, which is, clearly we talk about closing gender gaps across so many industries. It's always in the press, and it's something I hear about in my world of sort of journalism so often. And so it's amazing to sit here with 4 companies that are not just talking about it, they're doing it. They really have taken gender intelligent approaches. And what's absolutely come across loud and clear is that they are using hard and fast data to understand needs. They are responding to those needs. They are developing their products and services. And as a result of that, they are winning in women's markets and really driving positive change. So please do join me in giving them a massive round of applause. Thank you.